Welcome to Guiding Echoes, the show that loves to inspire and empower you to awaken your intuitive abilities and develop your psychic skills. I'm your host, Nicole Antoinette. Join me as we dive into exciting topics such as spirit communication, energy healing, intuition, consciousness, and so much more. The fun begins right now. And yes, the fun begins right now. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Antoinette. Welcome to another episode of the Guiding Echoes show on the UPRN Network 107.7 New Orleans, or I should say 107.7 FM New Orleans. And of course, if you are able to, you are more than welcome to join me on the Guiding Echoes YouTube channel and the Guiding Echoes Facebook page. And if you do that, you're able to join along with me in the chat, which means you can join the conversation, ask me questions, answer some questions, and it's going to be a good old time today. So today's topic is coming out of the spiritual closet. And the reason I wanted to discuss this today is because I often get emails and messages and comments from people all over the world telling me how very alone they feel on their spiritual path. And many people do have a deep desire to connect with others on a spiritual level. And they want to be able to tell their friends and tell their family about their awakening experience. They want to be able to talk about things like tarot cards and connecting with spirits. They want to talk about their new spiritual insight and the new beliefs that are forming and taking place in their heart. And I want you to know if that's where you are right now, it's very normal to desire that type of connection because we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, but also we're wired for connection. Our very livelihood depends on it. And I do believe that the universe has created all of us, has wired all of us to need each other and to need that connection so that we don't become too independent. Because what happens when someone becomes too independent? They lose their empathy. They maybe become self-righteous, or they become arrogant, or they become a little bitter. And so the universe has set up a system so that we're always going to need the help of others on some level. You know, one of the things that I think is actually detrimental in the self-help and I want to say new age communities is this belief that everything you need is inside of you. And while I agree that most of what we need, most of the knowledge and wisdom that we need is inside of us, it's locked inside of our hearts, the reality is that there's some knowledge and wisdom that you'll probably never have access to, but someone else does. For example, if you need to have heart surgery, that's probably not something that you're going to be able to do on your own. You're going to need the assistance of someone else. If your plumbing is going haywire, you're going to need a plumber. But there are other ways that we connect with people too. Sometimes we get into a precarious situation in our lives and we just don't see any way out of it. And I'm talking from experience here, and I know many of you have been there. And so you may have been placed in a situation where you're spinning your wheels, where you are trying to figure out how to get through a situation or get through a tough time or come out on top, and nothing you do seems to work. And when you go inside, when you quiet your mind, when you try to connect with your guides and your higher self, you get nothing. Or you get some type of message that says, "Patience, my child." And you're like, okay, that's not helpful. And in those times, we do need the comfort of other people. We may need their advice. We may need some resources, or we just may need someone to sit with us and be like, "I'm here with you. I'm here for you." And that's something that can be really powerful. And that connection that we have with other people helps us to learn, helps us to grow, helps us to become more empathic, and we are more together, we're more powerful together than we are on our own. So, this need for connection, this desire to come out of this spiritual closet was in some way, I want to say, hardwired into you. It was hardwired into you for a purpose. So let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, I want to thank all of you who answered the question that I posed on the Guiding Echoes Facebook page. Over on that page, I asked everyone, what advice would you give to someone who wants to come out of the the metaphorical spiritual closet? We got a lot of great answers there, and I'm going to share some of those with you a little later on. But first of all, my first tip for you, if you are wanting to come out of the spiritual closet, is to determine why that is. What is your reason for wanting to come out? For some people, they want to come out of the spiritual closet because they desire to start doing something professionally. And I actually see that a lot. So I'll see people who want to start their angel card reading business, or there's people who realize that they have an amazing gift at connecting to angels and they want to be professional angel channelers. And in order to market their business, in order to help other people, in order to get the word out, they can't keep their ability a secret, right? And for others, it's what we talked about earlier. They just want that connection. They want to have those deep conversations with other people. And so that's something to consider, is what is your reason for wanting to come out of the spiritual closet? And a lot of times when you can find your why, when you can find your reason for wanting to do something, that why propels you forward. And when you know your why, you're able to tune into your resources and you're able to make decisions a little bit easier. So that would be the first thing that I have for you. The second thing that I would say to anyone wanting to come out of the spiritual closet is to consider your safety. And to be honest, that's what I'm really concerned about when people want to discuss their spiritual awakenings with other people. For many people, their physical safety is probably okay, right? The Salem witch hunt is over. There aren't a lot of people in the Western world who are going to get hung or physically hurt or jailed over these beliefs. But there are people who listen to this broadcast and listen to these videos in other countries where that's a possibility, where they can be placed in jail for believing in some type of spiritual belief system outside of the religion that is ordained correct by that country. And so the very first thing I always want you to consider is your safety. Is it safe for you to openly speak about what it is that you believe in now? Is it safe for you to talk about your ability to communicate with the dead? Is it safe for you to talk about your ability to connect with chakras and to see auras? And there's also an emotional component to this as well, right? There's that emotional component because there are people who will belittle you, who will mock you, who will speak down to you for believing in these things. And that can be really frustrating. You know, when I first began learning how to read tarot, and when my mediumship abilities opened up, I was already in an abusive relationship. I was in a relationship with a he was either a malignant narcissist or a sociopath. I really believe he was a sociopath. Looking back, I'm like, ew, that was not a good situation. And he was mostly an emotional abuser. He was always, every single day, he would fly into these fits of rage. He would yell at me over really stupid things. And so that relationship was rocky enough as it is. But when I started reading tarot, when I started opening up about my mediumship abilities, of course, that same level of nastiness was now placed on this spiritual belief system and spiritual abilities that were very precious to me. And so that was, as you can imagine, very heartbreaking, because when you're in a relationship with someone, and this relationship, whether it's a friendship or even your families, when there is someone in your life that you love and they're supposed to love you, when they put you down, when they put down your abilities, when they um, talk in a way that is degrading about your core values and core beliefs, well, obviously that cuts you to the core, right? So, if you're in a situation where you are not around people that would support this path of yours, you may want to consider if it's necessary for you to speak up about those beliefs, at least in that environment. So, again, always consider your safety first, because I don't want you to be in a position where you open up to someone, whether it is a spouse, whether it's a good friend, and I'm not so much concerned about you losing that relationship, because anyone who decides to stop speaking to you or cuts you off because you are a medium or you are a psychic or you are very intuitive, or you've decided that something in the new age movement makes more sense to you than your Muslim beliefs or your Christian beliefs, that person is maybe not a good friend. That's someone that's telling you that they no longer accept you for who you are. They liked the old version of you. They don't like the new version of you. And if that relationship comes to an end, that's sad, but it's okay. Right? It's sad, but it's okay. My concern is when someone you love and someone you're close to, whether that's someone you live with or someone you work with, finds out about these beliefs and they start belittling you and using these beliefs as really a way to kind of torment you because they may mock you or whatever. That's what I'm concerned about. Because I've been there, done that, and it hurts. It absolutely hurts. And so just be mindful of who you open up to, and remember that not everyone needs to know your business. Not everyone needs to know your inner thoughts. Let people earn that. Let people earn that. Find out who you trust first. And also, we have a comment here from Janice. Hi, Janice. And she says, I've always believed authenticity is important. Me too, Janice. It wasn't until I started looking at myself and didn't feel 100% authentic with who I am that I started coming out to family and friends more than ever. And I think that's really typical for a lot of people. And I also believe that this need to be authentic is why so many people want to be honest and forthcoming about their spiritual beliefs and psychic abilities. And then also, the truth is, we want to be loved for who we are, right? We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to know that the people in our inner circle support us and care about us and love us for who we are. And these abilities are definitely a part of who they are. They don't make up the whole thing, but they do make up part, right? So, the third tip that I have is also something that was brought up in on the Guiding Echoes Facebook page. Someone earlier said, excuse me, that they weren't aware of the Guiding Echoes Facebook page. So be sure that you check it out, facebook.com/Guiding Echoes. I post there almost daily, I want to say. Almost daily. And so every once in a while, we have polls up there. We have different lives. So be sure that you check it out. But third on the list did come from the Guiding Echoes community from Amanda. She says, start with people you trust and know will support you. You might be surprised how much support is out there. Also, make a network of spiritual friends is a huge help as well. And she is absolutely right on that. So start with the people that you trust. Start with the people who you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, are going to support you, excuse me, whoa, and love you despite, or I don't want to say despite, but who love you even when you make these changes. So I also want to stop and just let everyone know that I'm getting over COVID. That wasn't really something I was going to share. But sometimes these little coughing attacks are a part of the aftermath of that. So if it gets quiet, it's because I've muted my microphone and I've needed to take a drink. So sorry about that. We will get through this show though, I promise. We've only got 45 minutes left. So hopefully my guides and angels will take care of my throat so we can continue to talk about this fascinating topic. So, absolutely starting with the people that you trust. And that does bring us into the fourth tip, which was to build your community. And, Guiding Echoes is a community. UPRN is a community. Chasing Prophecy is a show that comes up on Tuesday nights. They've got a Facebook page too. That's a community. So go to where your community is. Know what your spiritual beliefs are, at least part of them. Are you clairvoyant? Are you a medium? Are you someone who dreams about the future? Are you an empath? Know who you are and go seek out those groups. Go seek out those communities. And you can also go to different things like nextdoor.com or even check out, your local Facebook groups and meetup.com and look to see if you can find places in your area, churches in your area, spiritualist churches in your area that talk about these things, that devote time to these things. Unity churches can be great. I mentioned spiritualist churches. So there are communities out there. You just have to find them. And when you're able to find those communities and you're able to build those friends, it gives you the strength, I believe, to talk to other people who may not be completely open to what it is that you believe in. So that's a good place to start. So talking to the people that you can trust and building your own community, searching for that community are very powerful because they give you the strength and they kind of build up your courage so that you can talk to other people as well. All right. And another tip that we have also came from the Guiding Echoes community over on the Facebook page. This comes from Yadia, and he says, you can start by wearing things like your special jewelry if you have any. And then let people ask you what it is. That way you can explain what it is and how it's connected to your spirituality. Just simply acting and being yourself. And I think that's actually a great tip. And that's something that I've done too, is I would wear different necklaces that have different pendants on it. And also different shirts that have like the hand of Fatima on it. Thank you, Nadine. Nadine says, you've helped me so much following you for the years. Oh, thank you, Nadine. Happy to hear that. But those are all different hints that you can put out there. Your jewelry, the symbols on your clothing, your earrings, even the decorations that you put up in your home. You can feng shui your house out, right? You can put spiritual symbols up. And when people ask about it, that can create a doorway where you can talk about your knowledge of these different spiritual things. I am currently in a city that is pretty Christian. It's pretty Christian. And I had gone to a farmer's market a couple weeks ago, and it was in the parking lot of a church, and there were a lot of Christian vendors there. And to my surprise, I found this wonderful little vendor that had all of these different crystals. She had lots of crystals, lots of gems, lots of stones. And she had made different bracelets and anklets out of them. They were really super cute. And when I went to look at them, she also had little pamphlets that talked about the meaning of each stone, how they aided in different types of healing, or what they attracted or what they repelled. And that was something that was a lot of fun for me to see. So that was a way that she was able to I wouldn't say come out of the spiritual closet, but it was a mellow way for her to be able to promote a spiritual new agey type of thing in a predominantly Christian event. And so, there's one other thing that I wanted to share with you guys that might make you feel more comfortable coming out of that spiritual closet. And it's actually an insert from the book, The Science of Channeling by Dr. Helene Webday. I hope I said that name right, especially since she's going to be a guest on the show in a few weeks. She is actually the lead researcher of the Institute of Noetic Science, so IONS, and I'm so excited to speak to her. So she's going to be a guest soon. So be on the lookout for that. Also, if you want a fantastic book on channeling, The Science of Channeling is very good. I've been reading through it a second time, and there's so much information that's packed in this about the different research and studies that have been done on a scientific level regarding different forms of channeling. And towards the back of the book, she gives different advice on how you can be a better channel too. So, excuse me. In this book, she talks about in the United States, approximately 75% of Americans believe in at least one paranormal phenomenon. Let that sink in. 75%. So if you're in the spiritual closet and you're afraid nobody else believes in this stuff, let me tell you, lots of other people believe in this stuff. In fact, possibly 75% of people believe in at least one form of paranormal phenomenon. It goes on to say, like communicating with someone who has died. In another study, about 1/4 of polled adults in the United States believed that contact with the dead was possible. And that's a study that was done by Gallup Incorporated in 2005. She goes on to say people from North, Central, and South America, the United Kingdom, Nordic countries, Western and Eastern Europe, Africa, India, and the Far East have also been asked if they believe in life after death or contact with the dead. Many do believe, from 21 to 78%. That's a pretty big percentage. Over half of the people in another study believed that places could be haunted by spirits. And this also gets interesting. She says these surveys have been repeated over the years, and interestingly, the number of people who believe increases each year. Our belief in channeling or paranormal experiences is growing. And I believe that one of the reasons that our belief in channeling, our belief in paranormal experiences is growing is because more people are talking about it, right? More people are talking about it. More people are talking about their experiences. And of course, we also have a lot of different forms of media, not just, of course, on YouTube or on UPRN and on the radio, but also on our television. We have different paranormal TV shows. We have shows that are geared towards mediums, where you get to see a famous medium give different readings to a variety of people. They're able to pull in amazing information. And so that really piques people's curiosity. And then, of course, there's also the fact that a lot of people have experienced some type of psychic event or some type of a haunting. And when people experience a ghostly apparition on their own, or when they channel something accidentally, or when they dream of the future, when they have some type of a psychic or paranormal experience, especially if they're hardcore against it and they have that experience, that really opens up the door for them to dive into this a little bit more. It gets them to start questioning their preconceived notions and their previous beliefs and thought patterns. And so we just see right now in this tremendous age, we're seeing a lot more people having experiences. And we would also see what I would call late bloomers, where people are starting to notice their gifts or come into their spiritual gifts later in life. It used to be that you heard about people who had their mediumship abilities since they were children. It's not uncommon to hear mediums talk about seeing invisible friends or seeing spirits when they were children, and so they grew up knowing that they had that ability. And fortunately for a lot of mediums, they grew up with parents or family members or adults that were very open to this and allowed them to be curious about their gifts. So they had very supportive parents that allowed them to grow as mediums, and they didn't feel that pressure to shut that gift down. And then, of course, you have people on the other spectrum who had that experience of seeing spirits as young children, but then they had parents who thought that was evil, yelled at them, told them it was in their imagination, so they shut it down. And what we're seeing now is a lot of people, in fact, Beth right here just said, yep, I'm 34 and just now learning about mine. So that's actually something that's becoming very common, where people are in their late 20s, they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I had a woman who was 61 reach out to me a few weeks ago and tell me how she was a pretty stout atheist. She didn't believe in any of this, and all of a sudden she started getting these weird sensations of deja vu. She started having significant dreams about the future, and I can't remember what else happened. I want to say happened to her, but really happened for her. And that's when she realized, there might be something to this whole psychic thing. So inadvertently, she somehow came across my channel and reached out to me and started telling me about her experience. And so, yeah, she was a late bloomer too. And it's never too late for these abilities to open up. And they can open up just like that out of nowhere. They can open up very slowly, and they can also open up not exactly by force, but I would say by will. So, for example, if you decided that you wanted to learn about mediumship and you wanted to develop those gifts, even though you didn't have any evidence that you yourself were a medium, you could definitely start working through different programs and working through the meditations and begin to open up that ability for you. Because I do believe that most of us are able to I think most of us are able to acquire different psychic abilities, because I do think many of them are skills. They're not just abilities, they're not just gifts. They are skills that you can build on and become pretty good at. So yeah. But I did want to go ahead and take some time to answer some questions for you guys, because I know you have a few. And I'm not going to open this up just to questions on this topic. I thought it would be fun to actually pull some cards for you guys today. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're listening to me on the radio, I want to invite you to check me out on the YouTube channel, whether it is the UPRN YouTube channel or the Guiding Echoes YouTube channel or Facebook page. You can join me there, because it is through the chat session here that you will be able to ask your questions. And so what's interesting though is I actually have a spirit coming through. So apparently we're going to do some mediumship. So I do have a spirit coming through. I have the energy of a grandmother. She's coming through, and this is a woman who would have passed over when she was I want to say 80s. She would have been in her 80s or older, possibly in her 90s. In fact, now I'm seeing the number 92. So I don't know if she passed in 1992. So she would have passed quite a while ago. But 92, there's something that's going to be significant about that number. All right. So number 92. So as she's coming forward to me, she is kind of quiet. She's not a talker. This woman's coming through, so she is quiet. But I also believe that she would have been pretty stern. I feel like this was not a grandmother who would have been, a lot of times when we think of a grandma, we think of a warm, grandmother energy who's like serving us cookies and that sort of a thing. This woman's coming through colder. So this woman feels rather strict. I would say that she was standoffish, and while she loved her family, there definitely would have been an emotional distance there. So is anyone in the chat able to take this? If not, it might be for someone who's listening on the radio. Oh, okay. Angela's saying that's my grandmother to a T. Okay. So what I have coming through from her is I am feeling this like this an apology, like she's like an apology for not being warmer, for not being more open, but she's showing me how very blocked she was from being able to show those type of emotions. And again, there's just like she's just so quiet. There's this quietness about her, and I don't think that she was afraid to stand. I don't think that she was afraid to speak up. I'm not getting the sensation of fear, but there is just like this callousness there. And I feel like when she did speak up again, she would have been stern. I think that she was someone that would have complained more than she praised, and so I see that she was not she was gonna say, she was gonna tell it like it was. Instead of a grumpy old man, this was a grumpy old woman. And so she is coming through, and she does have that apology for not being more open and not being more warm, but those emotions were not something that she had access to. Like, she honestly does, when she was here on earth, there must have been some type of imbalance in her brain, or that amygdala must have been shut down in some way, because she just did not have access to those feelings of joy, love, and connection like most of us do. Oh, okay. So we've got two Angelas in here who are claiming this. So that's okay. So there we go. Two people coming through saying this sounds like their grandma. Okay, good. But she is coming through, and she is wanting you to know that she's watching over you. And okay, so now I'm seeing two different images. I feel like I'm seeing a flower. This looks like a pink flower, so I'm not really sure what the significance is there. I'm not getting a hit on that. I'm seeing something with a pink flower. This might have something to do with a child or a newborn baby, because I feel like I'm getting some type of message about like how a congratulations is in order, because it does feel like there's either a new arrival on the way or has already shown up. So this is her way of acknowledging that she's still watching the family, she's still around, and she actually is joyful and happy about this new arrival, this new baby. And so I'm thinking that the pink flower probably represents a girl. So I feel like she's talking about a female child, a female baby. So, all right. Well, I hope that was helpful to someone out there. And oh, very cool. Zarita says, I love psychics that share their gifts. You are a blessing. Thank you, Zarita. We thank you very much for that message. On behalf of psychics all over the place, we thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and see. Arla is saying, I would love a card. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pull from my new messages from the Spirit of Nature Oracle. Oh, sorry, this is all blurry on the screen. So this is by Dr. Stephen D. Farmer. This is I believe, a Hay House deck. So we're just asking the universe for a card for Arla Jean. Just tuning in. Okay. The card that I have for you is Oak Tree, and this says Ancestors. Oh, that's really interesting, considering that I started this off with a mediumship reading. So when we have the ancestors coming through, also this reading is, even though I'm pulling the card for Arla, this is going to be for many people who are listening right now. This card is telling you that you have the support of your ancestors. And so for those of you who are able to, I'd like to invite you to just really open up your awareness and expand your energy out and make it your intention to feel your ancestors near you. Because this card is letting you know that your ancestors are watching over you right now and they're in your corner. And I feel like for certain people, they're just at their wits' end. They're at a place in their life right now where they're like, I don't know how I can possibly go on from here. I don't know what my next step is. I don't know what choice to make. I just don't know which way to go. And so your ancestors are there to support you, and they are reminding you that you hold the wisdom of their experiences in your very DNA, in your biochemical makeup, is their memories, is their wisdom, is their knowledge. And your ancestors went through incredibly hard times too. You know, when you go back generation from generation to generation, they had to be very creative and very resilient and courageous and strong to be able to get through a lot of the drama and challenges that they had to get through. So tune in to the energy of your ancestors, ask them for help, and they will, in fact, give you that help that you're asking for. And so just so that's the overall message that I'm getting from you. And also for the person who asked this, I feel like you have some mediumship abilities, and I feel like I already know that you know you have psychic abilities. I feel like this is coming for you because your mediumship abilities are wanting to open up a little bit more. And so ancestors, connecting with our ancestors can be a wonderful gateway into that, because when we connect with our ancestors, those are spirits that are already pretty familiar to us. And so when we're able to adopt them as our guides and we're able to connect with them more, they're able to kind of, I want to say, broaden our energy and broaden our horizon so that we can connect with other spirits as well. So they are on your side. All right. I hope that was helpful. Also, I forgot to mention, I actually did pull cards for us earlier today. And the first card that I pulled, also from the messages from the Spirits of Nature Oracle, was the Lotus, and it says resurrection. And so when I think about this card, there's two things happening because it's talking about the lotus, right? So the lotus can also be a symbol of your crown chakra. It's that symbol of your energy opening up to receive divine information. It can also be a symbol for a spiritual awakening. And I know some people watching this and some people listening to this are very new on their spiritual path. And so they are going through a spiritual awakening. So this card is representing of that. And the resurrection, I believe, is that resurrection of your soul. Over the last over the last 2 years and 3 years, we have just seen this tremendous shakeup in the ways that we live our life. We have seen the world go crazy. We've seen people split in a way that we've never seen before, and it's actually really sad. And I think that we've all kind of lost a bit of ourselves because the world has changed so much. You know, when you look back in 2020, we weren't even allowed to give each other hugs. Like, hugs were banned. We had to be 6 feet away from each other. And there's some stores and there's some places that still encourage that. And we all know, like we started at the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about how we're all meant for connection. We're all meant for that connection. And we all know that hugs are healing. We know that physical touch can be very healing. And so when we weren't allowed to connect with our friends anymore, and we weren't even just allowed to go to the grocery store and smile at other people because we weren't wearing masks, I think there was a part of us that got lost. And so now we're in this new world. I don't think it's quite the new world that we were all hoping to create, but we are in this new version of Earth. And as we're trying to figure out how to navigate in this new environment, our guides and our very spirit is telling us it's time for us to experience a resurrection. And this is the resurrection of happiness. This is the resurrection of our soul, because again, I think a lot of us feel as if we've lost something. So being able to tune into our own souls, being able to tune into your own heart, to your own spirit, and remembering what brought you joy. What things brought you joy in the past that you've let go of? It's time to resurrect that. It's time to bring that back. It's time to give yourself permission to smile again. And I know that can be really hard. And also, I am talking from experience. I'm going to admit, like, I'm going through a really difficult time right now. There was a situation that took place today that was just, I didn't see coming. Yes, I'm psychic, but yes, there are things that catch me even by surprise. And so I'm at that point right now where it's like, oh my gosh, how much more can I take? you know? And because of this tumultuous up and down that I'm going through in my own life, it can be difficult for me to remember the things that make me happy. So when I feel myself spiraling down that hole of depression and hopelessness and whatever else, I have to stop and ask myself, okay, what used to bring me joy? What brought me joy 3 years ago? Lots of things did. Different TV shows that made me laugh, hanging out with certain friends, listening to certain music. So do the same thing for yourself. If you feel like you're losing yourself, ask yourself, like, what brought me joy? And if those things in the past didn't bring you joy anymore, find out what brings you joy now. So we are being called to this resurrection. And I also think that this is the resurrection of the spirit. I think this is the resurrection of older ways. I think this is the resurrection of knowing how to use things like herbal plants, herbal supplements, the way that we used to keep our bodies healthy and strong in older days. So I feel like there's just this whole idea of going back to our roots. And that's probably why the ancestor card came up too. We're going back to our ancestors and how they stayed strong and how they had healthy immune systems and how they got through things like this. We want to be able to rely on their wisdom so that we can go through our own resurrection and build our strength as well. So in addition to that, the cards that I pulled are the Nine of Swords in reverse, the Nine of Cups right side up, and the Chariot in reverse. If you don't understand tarot cards and you're like, Nicole, that means absolutely nothing to me, that's okay. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. So the energy of this week is about duality. It means that you're going to be facing some interesting cycles this week. I think that there's going to be interesting patterns that show up. And this is the opportunity for you to break the patterns that you don't want reoccurring in your life, and to also jump on board with those patterns that maybe are working for you. And when we talk about duality, of course, that's the yin and the yang, that's the pros and the cons, it's the good and the bad. And so you might be in a situation where you have to find the good in a situation that is seemingly bad. You may have to maybe look for the bad in a situation that's seemingly good, because that's how you maintain balance. But I'm also getting the sensation for some people that there may be something good on the horizon for you, but it's not necessarily what it seems. So you want to keep an eye out for that. Make sure that you are definitely looking at every line of that contract. If you're about to walk into a new job or walk into a new home, double check everything. Act as if it's Mercury retrograde. You know how people double check everything during Mercury retrograde? This is kind of that same energy. I'm not into astrology, so I don't really know what's in retrograde right now, but maybe if anyone's into astrology watching this, maybe they can let us know. Maybe they can give us some insight on that. But just be careful as you go out there. If something seems too good to be true, it might be, because these cards do have that element of a hidden surprise, but it's not a very good surprise. And the reason I say that is because the Nine of Cups can be a card about, you're proud of something, you've accomplished something, but then it's the Chariot in reverse. So you may have accomplished something, you may have gotten what it was that you wanted, but with the Chariot in reverse, that tells us there was this hidden string attached, like there was something you weren't expecting that made this good thing a not so good thing after all. So again, just be on the lookout for that. And I know like readings like this can be kind of a bummer because it's not the type of reading that's saying, yeah, this is the time to go after your dreams, something great is coming. It's always great when you get those type of readings because, who doesn't want to know that something great's coming our way, right? We all want good things to come our way. And the truth is good things come our way all the time. Every time you wake up and you have your health and you're able to breathe and you have drinking water, like those are all good things. But they're so regular to us that we forget that they're good things. And so when something bad comes, obviously that can kind of throw us off our foundation. It's not all that fun, right? And but when we have a heads up about it, we can at least prepare for it, right? We can remember like, Nicole pulled those cards saying that this may not be the heavenly situation it's presenting itself to be. So I'm going to take a couple days to think about it before I sign the contract, before I make this big purchase. I'm going to read the fine print. And usually it's paying attention to those details because remember the devil is in the details. That can save you from something. And then also this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just saying again with the Chariot in reverse, be careful of the hidden strings. If you're able to catch that early, you can probably get exactly what it is that you want. You just have to clear up that little detail first. Does that make sense? Oh, Tammy's saying Jupiter just went retro today. Oh, well, there you go. That's it. Jupiter's my planet too. So, Sagittarians, look out. Our planet's turning against us. Oh no. Oh no. And then Nadine says, oh my, at 4:44 p.m. Well, 4:44 on Pacific time. All right. So, let's see. What other questions do we have here in the chat? Yeah, I'm sorry that I maybe seem like I'm not more prepared today. Like I said, I am getting over COVID, and I also had some. But it's been an interesting day. I'll just put it that way. It's been an interesting day. Okay, Nadine's asking. Let's see. Could that be why I'm feeling somebody touching my crown chakra movement all the time? Oh, because I pulled the Lotus card earlier. With your gifts opening up, yes, absolutely. When your crown chakra is opening up, you can definitely feel some interesting sensations there. I remember when my crown chakra first started opening up, I'd feel this really warm, tingling sensation up there, like someone was playing with my hair. It actually felt really good. And I absolutely loved it. So Tammy's saying, just slow down a bit, like the cards are saying. Slowing down's never been my style. I say that, but it's not true. I actually slow down a lot. But I would love to be one of those people that's just like, moving forward all the time. I am so mystified and even a little jealous of those high performers. Like when you see these different people on YouTube, whether it's people doing the pick a card reading or they're giving this tremendously helpful advice daily on YouTube, I'm like, man, I wish I could be that disciplined. Like I wish I had my life in that much order where I can put that out every day. But that's not how my energy goes. I'm HSP, like a lot of you are, and HSP and empaths actually need a lot of downtime, and we need a lot of quiet time, right? So yeah. Jennifer saying, wow, that's weird. Me too. My head has been doing this for a few weeks now. Awesome. Yeah, so that is your crown chakra opening up. So Zarita's asking, do you have any advice for people who have psychic gifts and want to enhance them? So Zarita, I would say that the first thing you'll want to do is, first of all, narrow in on that psychic gift. So all of us have different psychic abilities, right? So some of us are able to connect with spirits that have crossed over. So some of us are mediums. There are people who are angel channelers. There are people who are able to connect with spirit guides very easily. There's people who dream of the future. The reality is most of us have more than one psychic gift, and they can turn on at different times. But most of us are aware of the different abilities that we have. So what you'll want to do is really think about, what ability do you want to enhance? Or do you have a sense that you want to enhance? So when I talk about the sense, that could be clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, like what clair do you maybe want to strengthen? And from there, your best bet, the first thing is always going to be meditation. And for those of you who are like, oh, I hate meditation, I can never get my mind to quiet down long enough. That's not true. You actually can train your mind to quiet down, but maybe a typical quietness meditation just isn't going to be for you. So you can do the type of meditation where you are focused on a mantra or an affirmation, and you just sit in the quietness and you repeat that over and over again very slowly, paying attention to all of the different words, to the sensations. Like if I was going to do the mantra, I am love, I would contemplate the word I would contemplate the word am. I would contemplate the word love. I would say, I am love, very slowly. And I would really allow the energy of that sentence to wash over me. And I might even dive deeper into the word love. Like, what does love mean? Love is kindness. So I would allow myself to sit in that energy of kindness. I would think love is compassion. So I would sit in the energy of compassion. And so you really just allow yourself to contemplate and feel the energy of these different words. And that is one way of meditating and allowing your energy to open up. Because when it comes to any psychic ability, what you really want to do is get your energy to open up more. Because when your energy opens up, when it's bright, when it's light, when it feels good, that means that you're opening up to connect to the energy of the universe as well. And that's when you become a very bright and significant receptor of information. That's when your energy is able to blend with the energy of the universe, and you're able to absorb all of that wonderful, sacred, fascinating information. And this is helpful if you are wanting to do healing medicine too. So if you are an energy healer, if you're practicing Reiki, that's a good thing to do. I am love. I am love is actually a great mantra to expand any psychic gift because that's always going to put your chakras in alignment. It's always going to expand your energy. And I also think that many of us have a complicated relationship with the word love because of how people who have supposedly loved us have treated us in the past. I think that we have a very complicated relationship with that word. And so when we are able to sit in meditation and contemplate the word love and ascribe it these beautiful meanings like kindness, compassion, authenticity, honesty, graciousness, that helps us to rewire our belief about love too. And it also helps us to accept the love of the universe in a more profound way. And I believe that whenever we dive into our psychic abilities, it should be through a spirit of love anyway. And when we're practicing our psychic abilities with someone else, and when I say practice, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're just doing different games and lessons and trying to make our abilities stronger. It means that we are in service for someone. So, even today when I was doing the mediumship reading for that grandma that came through, that was out of a service of love because I love mediumship and I love connecting to the universe and I love being able to share these messages with you. Also, before I forget, If you guys would like to order a reading with me, I do have a special right now where you can get 30% off of a reading with me. So you can go to guidingechoes.com, use the coupon code UPRN30 to get 30% off. Just needed to put that in there before I forget. So it is out of service of, when you're doing your psychic gifts, when you're practicing your spiritual abilities, it needs to be, I believe, if you really want to get the most out of it, out of that energy of love. And when you're able to do that, it has a more profound effect on the person that you're reading for as well, because they can feel that. Whenever we're doing anything energetic with someone else, I do believe that they can feel on a deep level when we are acting on behalf of love, or when it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this reading for someone, but I guess I'm going to because they asked for it and I'm not in the mood, but okay, I'll turn over some cards. That's not really a loving attitude. And so we want to, as best as we can, always get into that space. And then also just make it your intention that you want to expand a specific gift. Make that your intention, and the universe will hear you. Ask your guides for help, ask your angels for help, ask your higher self for help, and they will direct you to the right teachers, the right resources. Of course, there's a plethora of online courses available on just about any psychic ability that you could want to enhance now. There's so many gifted teachers on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on UPRN. Like, there's no shortage of information. So just go out there, cast a big net, and see what resonates with you, because not every teacher is going to give you those good vibes, and you do want to be really mindful of who you allow to be your mentor. That's something I've learned the hard way. I've had a couple mentors that actually really jacked me up and really messed with my self-esteem and my self-worth. And I stopped doing mediumship for a while because I had one mentor who basically had me convinced that I wasn't any good, wasn't any good at mediumship. And so that was a bummer. But I eventually found my way. I eventually found a way back. So go out there and find those resources and dive into them. And remember, not every book's going to resonate with you. If someone is telling you to dive into some type of practice or meditation or weird mantra that doesn't sit well with you, don't do it. Don't do it. It's your spiritual path. It's your spiritual path. And then also, I know sometimes people are like, well, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. You will know, you will know when you have a red flag inside of you saying, this exercise doesn't feel good. I don't think this is ethical. This doesn't resonate with me. You're going to know the difference between those red flags that are telling you, stop, please don't do this. This just isn't good, versus, well, that seems a little challenging and I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try it anyway. Those are two different blocks. Not even blocks. Those are two different views, two different ways of looking at it. So again, if a teacher, a mentor is asking you to do something that just feels weird and you don't like it, don't do it. You don't have to put yourself through that hell. Maybe you're not ready for it. Maybe 2-3 years down the line, you'll be ready for that practice. Maybe right now it just doesn't resonate with you. Go with that. Listen to your intuition. Listen to what your body and your mind are telling you. Don't force yourself to do something you don't want to do. And if it just seems like it's outside of your wheelhouse right now, like it's a little too advanced, you're like, I don't know if I can do it. Well, I don't know if I can do it is different than I don't want to. So I think that when you're at that, I don't know if I can do it, that's usually when you want to push yourself. That's the limitation of comfort that you want to move past. Does that make sense? So go out there and find the books, find the teachers, find the meditations, and just really allow yourself to be curious about your gifts. And another thing that's really helpful is keeping a journal, because if you're like me, that imposter syndrome kicks up from time to time. It kicks up a lot for me. I used to call myself the world's worst medium, and I would do that like right after I gave a phenomenal reading too. Obviously, I don't say that anymore, not even jokingly, because I don't want to accidentally manifest that. But yeah, imposter syndrome is a real thing. So keeping a journal allows you to go back and remember that you do have these gifts, and it's a wonderful form of validation. So thank you everyone for joining me for the Guiding Echoes show. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Remember, this show takes place every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central on the UPR network, and of course you can join me live on YouTube and Facebook looking up Guiding Echoes. Have a fantastic week. Thank you again for joining me. Stay tuned because there is more fascinating goodness up for you on the UPR network 107.7 New Art. 107.7 FM. I keep forgetting the FM. New Orleans. Take care. I will see you next week.